Hey guys, Alex here with Armadillo Armament. Today we're going to be talking about supporting a binocular night vision setup for cheap. Before we jump into that video, I have partnered with Red Pawn Shop. What they do is they create really cool patches of armadillos with MCXs and quad nods, which unfortunately I can't afford. However, for every single patch or sticker you order, he's going to remove 1 pound of junk from the ocean, as well as plant one tree. So you're not only buying a really cool patch and supporting me, if you use code Armadillo, you'll get 5% off, but you are supporting the planet. So, we are going to be talking about getting into night vision for cheap. Night vision is clearly a focus of my channel, and I'm not very comfortable giving you guys a review of the RNVG system quite yet. That'll be coming up pretty soon, but I have seen that we clearly enjoy my videos on getting into the hobby, getting into helmets, getting into night vision, and just getting into things without spending a lot of money. Because realistically, as civilians, this equipment isn't really going to be utilized for a shit hit the fan situation in most cases. However, it's going to be mostly because we enjoy the hobby. We like spending money on being able to see at night, and it's just cool, guys. At the end of the day, this stuff's just cool. So why not try to get into it without spending a ludicrous amount of money? And the other reason is I've learned a lot of life lessons getting into night vision, and I've learned products that you should avoid, and I've learned all the pitfalls of getting into night vision and what may not be worth your time or your money. That's where these videos come into play. So in this video, we are going to be talking about my updated helmet setup, but most importantly, because I have moved from a Omni 7 PVS 14 style device and moved into RNVGs, which is binocular night vision, so 2 input points, 2 output points, now we need to discuss how you're going to support that equipment. And I have really good news. It's really not that much different, and there are some really great shortcuts you can take. So, an overview of the helmet. First of all, this is the Nod Pod helmet, the helmet stand by Nod Pod. I have a video on my channel. It's a really cool little way of mounting your night vision helmet and everything. It looks at you while you're sleeping. It's kind of quirky. But we've all seen this helmet before. If you look at my prior videos, I talk about some of the Amazon attachments I have on here, as well as the origin of the helmet. This is a cut ACH helmet. Now, an ACH helmet is about level 3 rated. It's going to stop most pistol rounds up to 44 Magnum, if I'm remembering correctly. And it can glance 5.56, or it can glance rifle rounds. So I believe in ballistic helmets. If you don't, feel free to go to the corresponding Team Wendy or Ops Core alternative for a bump helmet. I just don't recommend those. So on my cut ACH, first and foremost, we have a helmet cover, which I want to discuss. This helmet cover is made by Agilite. A helmet cover offers a couple advantages. First of all, a helmet cover is going to add camo properties to your helmet. This is not the helmet cover. This is a scrim by Bees Combat System. The helmet cover is the multicam underneath that scrim. So first of all, it's going to add camouflage capability to your helmet. Second of all, if you are running a ballistic helmet, it's going to offer a little bit of resistance to the sun or inclement weather. Ballistic helmets can degrade over time, specifically with things like UV light and rain or snow, whatever have you, or just scratches by you falling. Having a little bit of cloth up there is going to help protect the finish of the helmet, which in turn can actually protect your life. Now, moving from the helmet cover upwards, and we're going kind of from least important to most important. So we're starting with the lame stuff. We have the scrim. The scrim is made by Bees Combat Systems. It's actually a really cool, or actually, this is the 100. They both have one. There's a 100 Concepts version and a Bees Combat Systems version. This one's in multicam tropic. It just adds a little bit of vegetation to the top of your head and makes you blend in a little bit better. I have a video discussing it. Really cool product for cheap. Now, getting into things that are a little bit more important, we have my side rails, or my one side rail. This is a Unity knuckle mount. You will notice that this Unity knuckle mount can kind of articulate. And I want to talk about a helpful tip for this Unity knuckle mount. When you get it, it's going to be incredibly loose. What I recommend is it attaches via this little this little device right here. It's essentially two pieces of plastic that interlink with each other. What you want to do is you want to put some tape over that inner portion, and it's going to kind of shim it and make it a lot more stiff. So this light isn't going to be free floating, and I actually have it woven under my helmet scrim as well, so it's not going anywhere. Now, on that Unity knuckle mount, I have a TLR7A. Boop. It's a pretty bright light, about 500 lumens. It is anemic compared to an X300 or even like, let's say, like a Vampire or a choose any full-size weapon light you can think of, Surefire. And I normally have an X300 on there, but that's currently being used on another build. And a TLR7 offers very sufficient white light performance in the off chance you need it. Not as much as a full-size weapon light like an X300, but for things like reading, it is perfectly adequate for that job. You could mount a TLR6 up there. I don't know how, but if you could mount a TLR6 up there, it would still be fine. Princeton Tech makes admin lights that are like red and white. Those are likely better for this designated task, but I always have a Princeton Tech on my carrier anyway, so I'm not too worried. I already have that capability, so I don't need additional capability of that red light. There is a benefit of it being extremely light as well. This is easily half the weight of an X300, so it's not going to have a massive X300 sticking off the side of your face. Now, moving on to the Ear Pro. And the Ear Pro I want to take some time to talk about because I have utilized a couple different systems, and I will have expanded reviews in the future. I have utilized the Unity Marks, which are a headset it's kind of designed for, or it's a headset holding system, right? So the brackets, it's designed for someone in like a breacher job. I've never been in the military, but I have to assume when you're breaching a door, breaching a wall, that concussive blast, what it'll do is it'll knock off your headphone seal because some headphones will allow it to click out. These headphones will actually click out, but I have it disabled. So this is the normal like ops core mount for Comtacs. I have Sport 500s in, which I consider to be a perfectly adequate headset solution. They don't offer great comms capability, but they do offer great noise reduction. And they also have Bluetooth, so you get to listen to music as well. It's really cool being at the range and being able to blast whatever band you want to listen to. It's kind of cool. But if you're a professional, you definitely want to stick towards like Sordens or Comtacs. But anyway, what you want to do is on this headset mount, this is a screw that's kind of disguised by the spray paint. But there's a screw right there, which is very hard to see. What you want to do is you want to unscrew that, and you can take a piece of paracord and you want to bend it and you want to lace it just around this metal portion. And what that will do is it will make it so this will not fully open. Notice how there's no clicking noise. So it's going to stay very firmly on your head. Once again, I'm not breaching doors very often, but I found with these without the paracord shimming technique, I found that when I was shooting, every once in a while, one of them, you would hear a clicking noise, and it would still be, it's basically still on your ear, but it's not compressing into your ear. Now, what does that do? If you're firing a 5.56 rifle, I can assure you, you'll know when that clicks out, because you may lose hearing in that ear for a couple hours. 5.56 is very loud, guns are very loud, so I like to have a more consistent seal. And the Unity Marks just weren't really doing it for me. They have a exposed metal portion underneath the headset that happened to stab me in the neck a lot. And then as well, I found my headsets would actually fall off those Unity Mark rails very frequently, which is obviously a massive problem. So I don't recommend the Unity Marks. I will have a video on them in the future. I would recommend these standard, ops core variants, and you can just shim it with paracord. It's a much better solution. All right, now why did I bring up headphones? Because with a PVS 14, you will notice that a 14 with a ballistic helmet is light enough that you don't need too much of a counterweight. On top of that, the headphones locking the device into, because when you have headphones mounted, it's going to press against your ears and it keeps your helmet mounted very securely. So the reason I brought these up is because that constant compression is going to make it so I don't need a massive counterweight in the back. It makes the device incredibly stable, and I recommend that you stick with on-helmet comms capability or a headset capability rather than a under the helmet solution like something like Sordins that have like the neckband solution. I really don't like that. I also found that it puts a lot of pressure over the top of my head. And I think a helmet mounted solution is just significantly better in every single way. So I would recommend you stick to that. All right. So now we are going to get into kind of territory that I've already discussed in prior videos. But I want to, I guess, tell you how it's been. Now, in my other prior video, or in some of my prior videos, you will see a battery, not a battery pack, but rather a counterweight battery holder that was a little bit different than this. This is, for all intensive purposes, a TNVC Mohawk. Let's just get that out of the gate. The Mohawk is a excellent design made by TNVC, or maybe they just sell it, but it is a counterweight system that can be opened from either side and then weaves up the middle of your helmet with a Velcro type system. Now, what that does is it allows you to throw like your strobe under here and it be mounted very securely. You can weave like vegetation through the paracord. You can put chem sticks in that paracord. You can put whatever you want up there. The uses that I find for it, to be honest, is I throw my IR strobe up here just because it's mounted incredibly secure, and I don't want it just sitting on the top of my helmet. I just keep it underneath my scrim, and if I ever need it, then I can just rip it off and throw it back. There's more than enough Velcro engagement on top of here. The scrim doesn't really get in the way. Now, the most important part of this TNVC Mohawk ripoff, and this is the Chinese version. This is not purchased by TNVC. They want $100 or something for it. I got this for $15. I'll throw a picture on the screen right now. Once again, we're trying to save money here, guys, right? So the most important purpose of this is to hold batteries. This Chinese one came with this right here, kind of like a little placard for batteries. And I'm missing a battery. I'll throw that one in right now. And actually, I do need to remove these double A's because my binos actually run off of CR123As, which is a really cool benefit. But this little battery holder is super convenient. You can either put this battery holder on top of your helmet, which I see some people do, or you can keep it secured inside of the designated holder. So what I do is I keep the battery pack, this battery placard, inside of this TNVC holder. And because I'm running a binocular setup now, the PVS-14 is light enough that you didn't really need too much of a counterweight. RNVGs, I find I do need a little bit of a counterweight. So I keep this placard full of batteries inside this makeshift TNVC Mohawk, and you can buy lead weights online. Lead like sleighs are what they're called. You can buy fishing weights for all I care. You can throw some 5.56 in the back. I used to run a 20 round mag when I had a bump helmet. Or this is a little Swiss Army knife, whatever you want to call it, a multi-tool. I just throw this multi-tool and the batteries in the back, and it offers ample counterweight. So what you want to do is you just want to slide this right back in, which may be a struggle to do on camera, but I can try. And then this right here will just slot right in. And now, instead of buying a dedicated counterweight system that doesn't, I'll throw that in later, instead of buying a dedicated like battery pack or a dedicated counterweight system that just has like lead inlays, which is a perfectly serviceable solution, instead you now have the capability of having extra batteries back there as well as a multi-tool, right? But once again, you can throw whatever you want back there. All right, so I don't have anything else to discuss back here. Really quick, this helmet scrim, in case you are interested in one, it is stretchy, of course, so it just goes right over that pack. And now it's, you don't have a massive counterweight system hanging off the back of your helmet that looks like shit. Instead, you have a scrim that kind of looks pretty cool. I don't run anything on my right side, and now that is for a couple reasons. First of all, when I am, let me get the nods out of my face. When I am mounting my rifle, I prefer to have nothing on the right side just so it doesn't interfere with anything really. It's not that a light will interfere with my stock, but there have been situations where I had an X300 over here, and when I was getting really deep down into my rifle, I think it was an LPVO, I found that it could potentially interface if I wasn't like perfectly lined up. As well as like Princeton techs have that wire that kind of extends out. I found that would always get in the way as well. So I don't have anything on the right side of my helmet. That's not to say that it shouldn't be there. But your helmet should only have what you really need on it. I need, in my opinion, to have a weapon light on my helmet in case something crazy happens, my nods go down, and I need that capability, and I don't have a weapon light. And I need batteries. I need a IR strobe so friendlies know that I'm indeed friendly. I don't need to have an X300 and X300 and IR light and IR light. I don't need those extras. Your neck will thank you for not throwing shit all over your helmet. All right, so now on to the kind of meat of the video, which I'll try to make as briefly as I can. We have my nod system. So we have RNVGs right here. RNVGs are pretty heavy. I will have a review on them in the future. They're not as heavy as a dual like PVS-14 setup, but they are significantly heavier than a singular monocular, like a PVS-14, or let's say like a Psionics, which I wouldn't recommend. Um, Now, I do have this on a Argus mount. This is the LWNVM mount, the lightweight night vision mount. And then this is going to couple very well with like an AX14 arm, or alternatively, it's going to interface directly with a RNVG or like a PVS-31 Alpha or like a Sentinels type dual binocular setup. Now, I do have the extended RNVG bridge right here, which is going to make it a little bit more in line with my eyes. And I'm going to show you guys what this looks like on me in a moment. But what I found is that with RNVGs, the mount is very low profile. That's going to mount to the LWNVM or your like Wilcox G24, which it's a knockoff of. And I found that I instead had to have my helmet like over my eyebrows. That is improper helmet wearing technique, and that's for a couple reasons. First of all, it's going to be significantly more less comfortable or less comfortable rather when you are like blinking your eyes. Obviously your eyebrows move and it's just gonna it's gonna cause that irritation. Second of all, you're actually sacrificing your ballistic qualities. You don't want your helmet to be riding all the way down here because then you're sacrificing coverage in the back of your head, right? So there are benefits to wearing a helmet correctly. I recommend you wear your helmet correctly. But this LWNVM mount, I will have a review on in the future, but this is, in case you haven't picked up on it already, this is a ripoff of a Wilcox G24. The G24 is the gold standard in night vision mounts. That's not to say it's the best. A Rhino 2 mount, my friend is actually using a Rhino 2, he has found that to work with him a lot better, especially for his RNVG setup. Now, that's because it can offer a little bit more customizability, as well as some people do not appreciate the push button. Instead, they much prefer that retention system instead of having to push in on that button, which I'll show you guys right here. In order to move your nods from stowed to deployed, you actually have to depress this button right here. So, some people prefer the retention method. I much prefer the push button method. But the RNV, or not the RNVG, the LWNVM mount is, it comes in at, instead of being $500, it's going to be roughly $100. So is Wilcox, they do make the best, I mean, obviously they make the best mount on the market, the G24, it's the most popular, it's one of the best mounts on the market. Is it worth $500 in my opinion? And the clear answer to that is no. Wilcox is charging $500 for a G24 because the military needs them. Really high-end special dudes running PVS-31 alphas that don't care about, they don't have to source their own parts, they don't have to source their own nods, they don't have to source their own repair. That's why their nods are just constantly blasting the entire time, even when they're doing like daytime operations. They don't need to worry about all of these costs. So Wilcox is able to price gouge them just absolutely through the fucking roof. It's the same reason why quad nods being $40,000 is absolute bullshit. Quad nods should be $10,000, probably less than that. In fact, within the next couple of years, there are actually going to be quad nods coming out within, I think, 8 to like 12K is what I was seeing. But once again, they can do that price gouging because they're selling to the government. The government has a lot of money because we pay the government a lot of money. So, do I recommend you buy a Wilcox G24? No. Do I recommend you buy an LWNVM? For my experience, yes. I'll put a picture on the screen of it right now. I haven't had too much time on it, and I will have an expanded review in the future. But once again, this point of this video is to save money, and the LWNVM mount saves a lot of money. All right, so I want to throw this helmet on my head for you guys so you can see exactly everything in play. It's not the proper way to put on your helmet, by the way. All right, so how does it feel on my head? Well, it's not that bad. Compared to a 14 setup, it is obviously significantly heavier. That being said, it doesn't offer too much in the way of like neck strain to the point where I'm like not enjoying the benefits of a binocular night vision setup, as well as I don't have my full counterweight system in, which is this little tool. As you can see from the side profile shot, these do sit out pretty far. That's because of the extended mount for the RNVGs to really make it go in line with my eyes, which I would recommend. That piece is pretty cheap, under $50 online. In fact, RNVGs may actually come with it. So that's about it. There are a couple ways to save money when you are getting into a binocular setup. I really recommend you take a look at the LWNV mount, and I'll deploy this. You guys can see what it all looks like. But I really recommend you take a look into this LWNVM mount, as well as if you are trying to get into binocular night vision for cheap, to understand that RNVGs are generally speaking about the lowest you're going to get into binocular night vision outside of stepping down to like Gen 2 night vision or digital, which I of course don't recommend at all. I will have a extended review on this unit in the future, but RNVGs can be had if you're looking at a green phosphor unit. You can find RNVGs for $5,000. Between 4,000 and 6,000, I'd say, is a good middle territory. When you go to like 7 and 8 and plus, that's when you're really looking at like filmless white phosphor tubes, which you're probably getting some diminishing returns at that point. But this tube I got for a little bit over 4K. I consider that to be an absolute steal. When you are getting into night vision, every penny matters. If you save money on your mount, you may find that instead of getting a Generation 3 white phosphor PVS 14 for $3,500, which I would never pay that price for, instead, if you save up a little bit more and you get a cheaper mount, you don't buy a full-on TNVC Mohawk, you don't buy a brand new ballistic helmet. Instead, you are buying like an ACH and getting a cut. You'll find those savings along the way, and those savings can lead you into purchasing a dual tube setup. And dual tubes, guys, absolutely rock. It's a completely different world. You can get the job done with a single tube 14, but honestly, I have duals and I'm never going back. So I hope this video was informative. Like I said, I will have reviews on all of these things in the future. This was just kind of a really quick overview of my new dual tube setup. If you have any questions, post them down below. I'm always happy to answer them. More videos coming, especially on this RNVG setup, as well as a new RMR HD I have. Like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.